This is recording 3 of my post-Christmas lectures before the new year. In fact, these are going out on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And this is a presentation this is the last lecture of 2025 ever, Goff, ever, right? And it's just sort of something that my guys on a Wednesday wanted me to look at. So we've looked at the main. We did the origins of ancient Egypt and the Stargate thing. That was part 1 of these presentations before the new year. The other lecture was Aztec clothing, so they were chosen by people on Tuesday. So on a Wednesday, I asked them what they would like me to look at, and Bill said, "Why didn't you look at the Igai, a Roman fort out north of Bracken?" And I said, "Well, no, that's going to be done as my regular lecture series and looking at the Roman period." And looking at the Vindolanda tablets, did they actually not have wax in the Vindolanda tablets and they actually just inscribed in the wooden? That makes a lot more sense, actually. We're saying that there was wax in them, but where's the evidence for that? And we'll be looking at that again. So then we're left with Pat saying, the Ohio serpent mounds, can you look at them? Yes. Can you look at the South Dakota roundhouses, Pat? Yes. So Bill said, can we look at Portchester Castle? Porchester's covered in my daily series. There's about 100 of them, which I'm repeating on my YouTube channel. So Portchester Castle's included in that. So I just done Pevensey as part 7. So go onto my YouTube channel, see them. And basically Pat says, can you look at the apartment building in Rome, which is a Roman era apartment building from about AD 300. We're looking at that, Pat. And Henry said, can you look at the Derry Connolly prehistoric site? Henry, we've already done that. You were away. Sorry. But the Burgundy seawall, we'll have a look at that in the new year. So anyway, let's get on with this. This is the last lecture, third lecture of little bits, and really appreciate your support this year. Onwards and upwards. And one last thing I want to say, that obviously I'm doing lots of acting work this year, and if we lose any more people on a Monday, on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, what I might do is sort of amalgamate it into one class, so it makes it easy for me and everybody. But we'll see how that goes. So it's convenient to have a Tuesday and a Wednesday class, because I try everything out on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday it's really honed and really fixed. And yeah, sorry guys, on a Tuesday. Right, experiment with you on a Tuesday more. Anyway, right, so let's crack on with this. Anyway, many thanks and happy Christmas, everybody. And Ddod llawyn ar in y siarad Gymraeg, y blwyddyn niw dda, happy new year, diolch yn fawr chi, and go from there. And hopefully we'll have Judith back as well. Fraggle woman from Yorkshire who secretly wants to be a Cumbrian woman, but that's up for debate. Right, so let's do it. Let's share the screen. So share alike, and screen. Start broadcasting. God, I'll just remind you all about a lecture I did in the pandemic, and I said I had one image and showing, and the image itself was, I don't know what it was, and we got to the end of the lecture and somebody said, we really liked that image, but we had that image for the whole lecture. And I said, and nobody told to tell me that you weren't seeing the other images. Anyway, thanks, Goff. Right, so let's get on with this. So this is serpent mounds. We actually did this as a presentation in the pandemic. So the serpent mounds and South Dakota roundhouses. So there we go, a 2-minute archaeology overview. Probably not, probably a little bit more than that. But so here we go, serpent mounds. So serpent mounds, Ohio. One of the most remarkable, Pat, earthworks in North America is the Serpent Mound. There it is, snaking around. There it is. It is a massive snake-shaped mound. Massive. There it is. Over 400 meters long. Built from earth and stone. Archaeology suggests it was constructed around 1,000 years ago. Amazing monument. Really, really is. And this is a sketch of it. So Importantly, it was not a burial mound. Instead, it appears to have had ceremonial and astronomical significance or something else. And the point is, all of the something else similar to our avenues or cursed monuments in Britain from the Neolithic period 5,000 years ago. But this is from 1,000 years ago. So, and the cursus and avenues don't really have a burial significance either. So more ceremonial, astronomical, something else. So very similar, but thousands of years apart. So meanings might be the same, but thousands of postcards away. So the serpent's head, there we go. The serpent's head aligns with the setting sun at the summer solstice, and it curves away relate to lunar cycles. Lunar cycles. In many Native American belief systems, the serpent symbolizes power, renewal, the balance between earth and sky. This makes Serpent Mound a ritual landscape, a place of belief, not habitation. Great monument, great piece of archaeology. And lots of mounds in North America, but this specifically to Ohio. So this was Pat's other thing, South Dakota Roundhouse. In contrast, the roundhouses of South Dakota were places of daily life. And this is a reconstruction with a few sort of beasts on the top there, skulls. In contrast, these are often called earth lodges, used by plains communities such as the Madran, the Hidatsa, and the Arikara people. Tribes that probably become really lost in history, or not many of them left nowadays. They were circular structures made from wooden posts, earth walls, grass, and soil roofs. And we get the evidence of that through what's left of the mounds. And then we've excavated and we realised that they were houses, post holes ground. And I tell you what, we use something very similar in West Wales, and the animals live underneath. And we use this as a workspace when we're actually in West Wales, which isn't all the time anymore. But yeah, this design works because you've proven it. Earth roof actually work. It really do. Their design was practical and symbolic. The round shape reflected the natural world, thick earth insulation protected against extreme weather. The central hearth was the heart of family life. So when you look at something like this and you feel and sense something like this, which is different from this building here, which we're going to look at next. So archaeologically, these houses show permanence, planning, and strong community identity. So when we go back to sort of the serpent mound and we look at something like this, amazingness, Pat. And I know we did this in the pandemic, but it's always good to sort of revisit these things. There's sort of head there. You can see it there, just about through the trees, aerial photography. So closing line on this little bit now is serpent mounds shaped belief, while round houses shaped daily life. So again, a sense of daily life, a sense of the practical. Together, they show how ancient people understood both the sacred and the practical, meaning life and death, and the continuance of this. Who would have thought 1,000 years later this would still be here, And then obviously the mounds associated with the collapsed houses are still there in the landscape. So I really appreciate that. So nice bit of Native American landscape archaeology. Did a little bit of this with my university in Leicester. And then finally, I've always wondered about this, but this is it. There it is. Look at that. This is the part of the remains of, and you've also got a bit of decoration there as well. Only in Rome, loads of it. So Roman apartment living. Pat was saying that she was on the top of a bus, and they were on a tour, and they were saying, "Oh, this is this and that and whatever." I think these are the austere storage buildings, to be honest with you, but that is the one in Rome. Right. And so Roman apartment living still standing in Rome. When we imagine ancient Rome, Pat, you missed out on this. We could have had a live photograph. We often picture villas and palaces and the odd statues of Lloyd George. But most Romans lived in apartment blocks known as insulae, basically in a Roman city between the road system, which was a grid system, that is known as insula, which is usually apartment blocks for people to live. One of the best surviving examples is the Insula della Arcole, which is this, near the Capitoline Hill in Rome. This structure rises several stories high, and you can see that there, this is below level, and it rises up like that, and dates to around, well, I would say about AD 300s, but my notes are saying the mid AD 100s. But who's to say? It was built from brick and concrete, Roman material so durable that parts of the building still stand today, as it is Capitoline Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome. Except Trajan had one reduced to nothing, life, to build his sort of his place, Yeah, that's Trajan's column. Yeah, so the height of Trajan's column, that's one of the hills that was reduced. Anyway, move on. So back to the apartment block. These apartments housed ordinary Romans, shopkeepers, workers, families. And the lower floors were safer and more expensive, while the upper floors were cramped, noisy, and at real risk of fire and collapse. So if you live below, don't go there. Archaeologically, this building proves an important point. Rome was a high-density city, and urban living, flats, rents, and overcrowding is not a modern invention. And when we think about this, the population of Rome had a population of over 1 million people. Think 1 million people. Nearby is the city of Cardiff for me, which has got a population of 300,000 people. And you're thinking, well, that's a lot of people, right? I know somebody watching this might live in Manchester with millions of people and London with over 10 million. But back in the day, 1 million people in Rome was huge. And you know what? And I do, I think these are the ones at Ostia, which is off the coastline from Rome, right? The storage buildings at Ostia and sort of apartment buildings, great looking. Look at they still survive like the one in Rome. Right. So here's the reconstruction, Pat. So you're thinking, well, in a way, living down below, you've got people chucking their excrement down the whole thing, and you're thinking, well, actually living in these things is probably not good anyway. But there's a nice reconstruction of what these buildings look like. Look at that there. Great. Tell you what, give me a roundhouse in the middle of a field any day. If you've ever lived in a block of flats, you have more in common with the ancient Romans than you might think. So I really appreciate everybody watching and supporting me this year. And hopefully I'll be talking to you this time next year. And yeah, we'll go from there. So just one last, this is for Pat. Yeah, let's just do this for Pat. Mention this again, Pat. Look at that there. That's what you missed, Pat. So if you've ever lived in a block of flats, you have more in common with ancient Romans than you might think. So that's it now. And that's me done. I really wanted that to be my last presentation of the year. And that's what I've done. So diolch yn fawr chi, gwelwch chi eto, and gwelwch chi un'r dydd Mercher un'r mis Ionwr, ac I'll see you in Tuesday and Wednesday in January. Diolch yn fawr chi, gwelwch chi eto. And Roger, see you soon, Dad. Night. Night. Thank you, everybody. And anyone subscribe, like, and join. If anyone joins this channel, if anyone who's in my classes who joins this channel, it's only £1.99. It all helps. It all helps to keep things going, right? I might take a break from YouTube for a little while as well. Don't know when. Diolch.